Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So Kaldheim spoiler season might be wrapping up tomorrow, but that does not mean that we're done with powerful Kaldheim spoilers. For example, this morning perhaps the most broken commander in all of Kaldheim was spoiled with Birgi. If you like free mana, you're gonna love Birgi. And if you hate playing against Storm decks, you're gonna hate Birgi. Either way, make sure that you check that episode out to see what Birgi is all about. And the spoiler for this episode is incredibly powerful as well, but before we get into it, a quick spoiler warning. If you don't want to see spoilers, don't watch this episode or that one or like my previous 20 or 30 or I don't know how many episodes I've made during spoiler season, but it's a lot. Anyways, let's jump into it. So just a quick note about this card before we jump into it. You might notice that there's a slight glare on the art of the card. And you very well might notice that the set symbol looks a little off as well, and that's because this is a mock-up. Though this card has not been officially confirmed, the image on Reddit looks very legit, and pretty much every single other image that we've seen that has come out before it's officially confirmed has been correct. So just keep that in mind as we go through this card. Regardless, let's jump into it. Haunting Voyage is a sorcery for 4 black. It says choose a creature type. Return up to 2 creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was foretold, return all creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield instead. On top of that, Haunting Voyage has Foretell for 5 black, so that means that during your turn you can pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down. You can cast it on a later turn for its Foretell cost. So this is actually a very unique take on a Foretell card, and one that I'm not sure that we've really seen so far. Unlike many other Foretell cards where you might get a discount if you foretell it and then cast it later, you're going to be paying more. So if you're just casting this for its normal mana cost, you're only paying 6, but if you foretell it, overall you're paying 9, and you're paying 7 on the turn that you're foretelling it. And the reason behind that is that if you foretold it, the effect is a lot more powerful. Getting 2 creatures back that share a creature type for 6 mana isn't bad, but getting all of your creatures back of one type can be game-ending. We've seen somewhat similar cards to this in the past, but again, Foretell gives a unique spin on this card. Our opponents won't know what it is when we foretell it, and when they find out, it might be too late for them. This card can be a fantastic finisher in the right deck. First off though, let's talk about some cards that are very similar to this one. Again, since Foretell is a new mechanic, there's no one-to-one comparison, but there are some ones that we can compare this to. The first one that came to mind for me was Patriarch's Bidding. Patriarch's Bidding is a sorcery for 3 black, and it says each player chooses a creature type. Each player returns all creature cards of a type chosen this way from their graveyard to the battlefield. So this is a mass tribal reanimation spell, but it's also a spell that can help out all players. Now, most of the time, if you've got a deck that wants to run this, you usually have ways to take more advantage of it. So if you've got a tribal deck that's got a lot of mill synergies, you're going to be able to get a lot more creatures in your graveyard and to take a lot more advantage of this spell. That being said, if your opponent is playing a tribal deck, they can take a lot of advantage of this as well. But even if they're not playing tribal, they can still get whatever the best creature is in their graveyard back. Now, obviously this costs less than Haunting Voyage and still can be incredibly impactful. But another card that Haunting Voyage reminded me of was Ever After. In fact, if you just cast Haunting Voyage straight up, it's kind of the same thing. For 6 mana, Ever After gets you back 2 creatures. Now, unlike Haunting Voyage, it's not restricted to any specific creature type. You can pick any 2 creatures. But obviously it doesn't have anywhere near the flexibility that Haunting Voyage does. Getting back 2 creatures from your graveyard can be very powerful, but it's not usually going to be game-ending. Whereas Haunting Voyage can help you out immediately if you need it, or if you can foretell it later, it can definitely end the game. So another somewhat comparable card that is definitely a mass reanimation win the game spell is Rise the Dark Realms. Rise the Dark Realms is a sorcery for 7 black, and it says put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. So straight up, this one does have a better effect than Haunting Voyage. Not only is it not restricted to a creature type, but it also gets you everyone's creatures in their graveyards. That being said, it is not as flexible. Haunting Voyage you can cast for 3 less mana if you just need to get some creatures out. And if you decide to foretell it on the turn that you cast it, you're going to be casting it for 2 less. So you might be able to cast it earlier and take over the game quicker. Now the other key difference is really how the foretell mechanic can affect the game. Again, Rise of the Dark Realms is a fantastic finisher, but it doesn't have that flexibility. When you foretell a card, you exile it face down and your opponents have no idea what that is. There are also very few ways for them to interact with it, so it's kind of like a finisher that's somewhat protected. It's essentially protected from discarded effects, which includes your opponent's as well as your own if you're running wheels. So cards like Dark Deal, Windfall, and Magus the Wheel all wheel in different ways. Dark Deal makes all players discard their hand, then draw that exact same amount -1. Windfall makes each player discard their hand, then everyone draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards discarded. And Magus of the Wheel makes everyone discard their hand, then draw 7. Regardless, each of these can be incredibly impactful in a Mass Reanimation deck. The problem is, if you've got a card like Rise of the Dark Realms in your hand and you still want to discard your creatures and you've only got a wheel to do that, you're going to have to make a decision. Do you give up Rise of the Dark Realms, which is your finisher, or do you try to find another way to discard those creatures? Haunting Voyage gets around that because you just foretell it away. So then when you discard your hand, you've still got access to it. And also again, your opponents have no idea what that foretell card is. They might assume that it's something completely different, and if you're playing with blue as well, then they're gonna assume it's Saw It Coming. Saw It Coming is the foretell counterspell from Kaldheim. And essentially, if you're playing in blue and you foretell a card, your opponents are probably gonna think it's a counterspell. So they might try to play around it, and they're gonna make some misplays, even though it's actually not a counterspell. I actually go into a lot more detail on this in the foretell mechanic on the new Will Bender episode. So if you're looking to hear more on this, go ahead and check that out. Now, one other thing that might be an edge case, but you might want to consider with this card is how to interact with certain tribal effects. For example, let's talk about the card Arcane Adaptation. Essentially with this, when it comes into play, you choose a creature type, and then no matter where your creatures are at, they are that creature type. Now this card works in very specific strategies where you're looking to change around and mess with creature types. But this new Mass Reanimation tribal spell can fit right into a deck like this. Because again, no matter what creature type you choose with this, you just choose that with Haunting Voyage, and voila, you get every single one of your creatures out of your graveyard. And the new card from Kaldheim, Maskwood Nexus, also works like this as well. It says creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that are in the battlefield. So no matter what creature type you choose with Haunting Voyage, you're getting everything back. And actually, Maskwood Nexus might just be my favorite card in this set, and it might be the final piece to my dream deck. And Haunting Voyage might very well fit in that deck, so if you haven't seen that episode yet, make sure you check it out. But not until you finish this one. Anyways, now let's talk about some commanders that might really want this card. Again, Haunting Voyage is an absolute bomb in the right tribal deck. But the commander that I think definitely wants this more than any other commander has got to be Iname Death Aspect. It's a 4/4 spirit for 4 black, and it says when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of spirit cards and put them into your graveyard. If you do, shuffle your library. So you cast this, and then you get every single one of your spirits in your deck, and you chuck them in your graveyard. And then next turn, you cast Haunting Voyage for its foretell cost, and then you just get all your spirits from your graveyard onto the battlefield. So a very easy 2-card combo to get literally every single one of your spirits from your library onto the field. But another commander that really wants this card is going to be Scion of the Ur-Dragon. It has pay 2, search your library for a dragon permanent card and put it into your graveyard. If you do, Scion of the Ur-Dragon becomes a copy of that card until end of turn, then shuffle your library. So you can use Scion to tutor for whatever dragons you want, and it becomes copies of those dragons. Oh, and those dragons are going to be in your graveyard, so then you can just mass reanimate them with Haunting Voyage. Another one that probably wants this card is Verena Lich Queen. She has whenever you attack with one or more zombies, draw that many cards, and then discard that many cards, you gain that much life. So you're going to be swinging with zombies and drawing from your zombies and discarding zombies. And then you can mass reanimate all those zombies and do more zombie things. And of course, another tribe that might want this card is everyone's favorite Slivers. Because the more Slivers that you have in play, the more fun everyone has. Well, I guess the Sliver player has more fun. Or how about Reaper King, the king of the scarecrows? You reanimate all your scarecrows, and then they come into play, and then you just blow up everything. Or essentially, any kind of a Morophon the Boundless deck might want this card as well. Morophon is basically the catch-all 5-color tribal commander, so this card could fit right in. But now as this episode's coming to a close, it's time for me to give you my gut feeling on this card. Haunting Voyage is a fantastic mass reanimation spell with some flexibility. It might not be as powerful as Rise of the Dark Realms, but you've got more ways that you can utilize it. And yeah, basically any kind of a tribal, graveyard, or mill deck is really going to want this card. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.